Hi, everybody. My name is Eric, grateful member of this community. And, my daughter asked me if I'd speak a little tonight. And I've been clean and sober for decades. And I've done a lot of speaking all over. And, it's easy for me. What it was like, what happened, what it's like today. 40 minutes. And she says, no, it's not about you. And it's only going to be a couple minutes. I said, well, I'll do the best I can. So a little over 40 years ago, I had a baby girl. This lady behind me is the one that gave it to me, and I cut her umbilical cord and fell in love with her. And I loved her forever, and I love her today. And, like her dad before her, she took that dark road. And I did everything to try to help her. We were in every rehab. I can't tell you how many, but there were a lot of rehabs. Nothing worked. And it was hard. As a dad, when your phone rings after 10 o'clock at night and your heart drops down to your stomach and you're sick and you don't want to answer that phone, that's how it was for a long time with my daughter. And there's two things I knew. There's only two things I could do for her. And that was to love her and pray for her. And I did that on a daily basis. I do that today. And then one day I got that phone call, although it was a good phone call. Dad, I'm in county jail again. Well, I knew she was safe, I knew no harm would come to her. And we started talking. And she mentioned Bathsheba. And I said, you get in there. And she said, I don't think they're going to let me in there. I was in there for one day once before. I said, they'll let you in there. You make them let you in there. You do whatever. And she did. She wrote letters and she called and she did and she got in here. And I watched her life change. And that made my life change. I can't tell you how grateful I am to this place. It's the best thing that ever happened to her, but it's definitely the best thing that ever happened to me. And for that, I am grateful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stella. A very grateful mother. I have to make it a quick story there's a lot of information, but it all started August 25th, 1956, the day I was born. And so it definitely started with me. I grew up in a family, my father had been in the military and he really loved order and he was very strict and I was very sheltered. I mean, when he whistled, you came a-running because you didn't want to face what was going to happen if you didn't get there. I could get away with it, but my brother couldn't because my father was afraid that, like a lot of fathers who grew up in the Depression, that he wasn't going to be man enough to face this world. And you know what? Unfortunately, I don't think he ever thought he was. Because I grew up in such a strict environment, I was really attracted to the rebels, the counterculture, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, it was the 70s, bicentennial. Everything was great. It was amazing. And then I was a customer of this man behind me. He sold a product, a really green product, and that's how we met. So 2 children later, and everything always gets bigger from marijuana for some people. And the addiction grew and that marriage dissolved. But one good thing is that I was introduced to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the family program called Al-Anon, which pretty much has saved my life. After that marriage, I met a musician, and he definitely fit the scene, and we started living a lifestyle that was not really great for children, but I guess you could say I was flying very close to the sun. Little did I know that my children were going to love it. They were going to embrace it. They wanted to be it. I used to tell her there's only one Keith Richards. and she didn't listen. So married the musician, everything was great, and of course drugs take over when you're involved in that type of business and you run with a rock and roll band for 5 years. I'll make it short. If you've ever seen the film Almost Famous, it says it all. But unfortunately, divorces, debauchery, betrayal, anger. So my 2 older children really flew so close to the sun that they got burned. And there was addiction, there was mental health issues, there was children born that they weren't ready to be parents. But like I've always learned, that if you can't control your children, someone will, and it's called Mr. Law, the Heat, Johnny Law, the man. He will take over, and he did, and it was the best thing that ever happened, because everything I tried, as her father said, wasn't going to work. I mean, I was even rehearsing how I was going to take the news, and that's bad, really bad. She started calling. She went to jail. She started writing letters. She started saying sober in jail. She kicked, she stayed sober. There was drugs available. She didn't take it. Finally, one day, someone came and picked her up for Bet Teshuvah and walked her in this door and held her hand. And 6 years later, she is someone beyond my wildest dreams. And it's because of this loving, healing environment where people do all they can, whether that's money, whether that's labor, whether that's coming up here and sharing your innermost thoughts, and how addiction and alcoholism pretty much destroyed your life and was going to take your children. Nothing worse than them hurting themselves and almost dying. So over the 6 years, I've seen her become an incredible light, a hope, a loving heart, someone that does the work, the real deal sobriety, I call it. And you can always see it because it just shines. It's like a flame. And life is not perfect for her. My son went through this house, and you know what? He's doing better than he ever has, because he's trying to be in a loving relationship, which is really difficult for children that have come from alcoholism and drug addiction, whatever it may be, sex addiction, whatever it is. And today, he's trying. And I can only ask for that. And my daughter is doing it. And today, she lives every day knowing that she cannot see her children. But the hope is that one day they're going to unite if she keeps doing what she's doing. She stayed here, she's employed here, she gives back on a daily basis. I prayed that the doors of Bet Teshuvah stay open for the lost souls that come to the door and walk in. And I really want to thank you for letting me share. God bless.
Who here knows somebody who's on the street? Who here knows somebody who almost died? Who here knows somebody who needs somebody right now to help them? Look around the hands. Stories like Sarah's can be real. Hear the father that says, I feel I can sleep when my child actually is in jail. Okay? I hear a parent that says, the only time I can rest is when they're in prison, because otherwise they're on the street and I have to practice what I'm going to do when I get the call. We've seen the before. Here's the after.
I'm Sarah, and I'm a grateful member of this community. And it's a real honor to have my parents be able to come up here and say something about me and the place that gave me back my life. And I know a lot of you, and I love you all, and I'm grateful for your support, and I'm grateful to see your faces here in Temple. Thank you.